Yeah, it's time to move viral. Cancel us.
And we are live. So welcome, Sonia.
Hi, Nyasha. How are you?
I am fantastic, and I'm going to go ahead and do a quick intro. Welcome to
Yes.
Travel Quad. Today I have Sonia, and just a quick intro. Some women survive, others rise, rebuild, and rewrite the story. Today's guest is the woman you become when you choose peace over pressure, healing over headlines, and purpose over pretending. She's a mother, a traveler, a sister, a daughter, a storyteller who's reclaiming a life even she had forgotten she deserved. Her journey is not about scandals, it's about strength. It's about what she left, it's about what she found. In this conversation, Sonia opens up on the power of travel, the freedom of self discovery, and what it means to build a legacy from truth, not trauma. If you've ever needed a reminder that you can begin again, this one is for you. Welcome to the conversation, Sonia.
Thank you so much. The way you say it, I'm also just like, who is this person?
It's you, girl. It's
You
you.
figured it all out. Like,
It's
wow.
you. It's you. It's you. So
Thank
we'll
you. You
dive
put a lot of effort
right
into that.
in. We'll dive
Hmm.
right in. And my first question to you is,
Yes.
and it's easy. Your favorite type of trip: solo, romantic, with kids, couples, with your girls. Which one is it, and why?
Oh, so for me, when it comes to travel, I'll be honest, I love seeing the world with my kids. I do. So number one will always be family travel. Number one. I'm still in that stage where when I do like girl trips, I feel guilty. So I tend not to go for too long because after 2 days, I'm like, oh, I've left those little people alone.
Mhm.
So I'm now kind of starting to enjoy the girl trips because the way my kids are split between me and my ex, weekends are free, which works perfectly for me. So
Okay.
I'm getting into girl travel. And hopefully
Okay.
soon enough, I'll be venturing into romantic travel, right?
Romantic. That's awesome. That's awesome. That is
Yes, baby.
awesome. I
Let
love
me
that for you.
out.
That's awesome. And then maybe you can do some couple travel with that. So that's amazing.
Yeah, yeah,
That's
yeah.
amazing.
When we get to the couple stage, yeah, we'll definitely do that.
Okay. And then so you chose to walk away, Sonia, from your marriage. How did travel help you reclaim your sense of self?
Do you know what happens? Like, I find that I'm so in love with meeting new people and
Mhm.
trying new things. And every time I go somewhere, I always make sure I learn something or I take something away from where I've been, right? So when I left initially my marriage, I'm going to be very honest. I don't like it when people go on and on about, it being a power move. It wasn't. It was the hardest thing I've ever had to do. I still like it. I was traumatized. I was terrified initially
Yeah.
when I did it, but the more I traveled and the more I met people, it's like you meet different groups of people who have different perspectives on different things. And when you travel, you don't have to tell people where you're coming from and what you're running.
Oh, we lost her. Sonia, are you there?
Yes. Sorry. Oh, wait,
Okay.
sorry. I just need to face this soul. I think it's overloaded. We've got
Okay, no,
all the
you're fine.
heaters on. Oh, sorry. Just give me a few minutes. It'll be up and running just soon.
You're
I think
fine.
they've overloaded. Sorry. I think we've overloaded the solar. Oh, can I? Okay,
And you're back.
my bad. Sorry. We had
That's
all the
okay.
heaters on because it's really cold here. I
That's okay.
apologize. So we'll take it again. So, what I loved about traveling initially when we first split was like when you go to different places, you don't have to, like, you don't need to know where you're coming from, what you're running from. But you can go somewhere, experience something, and say to yourself, okay, when I go back, I'm going to take a little bit of this and I'm going to try work on this, or I really liked just sitting at a table by myself, or I really loved meeting someone new and, listening to their perspective on life. So travel helped me in that every time you go somewhere new, you realize that it's like a new leaf. Like you can literally choose different parts of yourself every day. You can let go of different parts of yourself every day. And people do it all the time. So
Absolutely.
for me, traveling definitely helped me. It reminds you that the world is just bigger than you. It's bigger than what you're
Yes.
going through. It's
Yes. You there? I think we lost you again, Sonia.
sorry, it's just everything is reloading, like the Wi-Fi and the
That's
whatnot. I
okay.
apologize.
No, no,
It's
that's
not
okay.
always, you know.
That's
Sorry.
okay.
Yeah, so I hope that explains it. So I would say if you do like go through something traumatic, it doesn't have to be separation, divorce, or whatever. Traveling is good because, on the flight you have a lot of time to think. Where you go, you have to figure things out, and also you become really brave. Because I remember like when
Yeah.
we went to Japan, I remember they just didn't speak English, so you have to
Yes.
figure things out, and it's almost like you remind yourself that you can almost like you can always figure things out and be okay, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. And tell
So
me
I,
about Japan. Tell me about Japan. So you traveled to Japan with the kids?
I did, and my son just came in here despite all the signs that
Hi.
he's not supposed to be here. Say hi. Be polite and say hi. Say hi, Auntie Nyasha.
Hi, John. How are you?
Good.
Good to see you. You came to give mommy a hug?
Yes. Kuna, he came to
Okay.
drink my juice. So Japan was absolutely such a big holiday for me because it was so far. John, I'm doing something. Yes, I told you this was going to be ghetto.
No, 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 not at all.
This is what
Not
my
at all.
son made
You don't
me.
get to take a
What is
break
it?
from motherhood. So, I'm all
Yeah,
for it.
I,
I'm sure
I,
our
I
guests
really
are
don't.
too.
It's an octopus? Okay, it's me. Thank you, Jojo. Can I just finish my interview? Go downstairs, please. Sorry.
That's
So we were
okay.
talking about Japan. So for me, Japan was so far. It was the first time I think I traveled that far independently of my relationship. And I remember like language was a different barrier, and it's such a big cultural um, juxtaposition. Everything there is clean, it's neat, everyone's so respectful, everyone is so prim and proper. Obviously the opposite to everything that kind of happens here. But there was a lot of peace in that, and there was a lot of like cleanliness. And I remember just telling myself I would come back here over and over again. So it's such a beautiful destination. I recommend it to anyone and everyone. I would say, it's the kind of place you can go with your kids, and your kids get a lot out of the experience, the cultural experience. It's a place where if you go with Bay, I remember when where we were staying, there was a couple who we met at the reception. So I have this thing where every time I travel with my kids, like people love talking to me, Nana. I don't know why.
Yes.
So there's a couple who were like obsessing over me, Nana. And, it was just so lovely to hear them be like, we came here for 2 weeks initially, but we've just decided to extend another 2 weeks. And so it's like, it's just lovely to see how people experience different places as well, So I would go back to Japan. If anyone wants to take me to Japan and you're cool peeps, I'll come with you, definitely.
Yeah, Japan is really awesome. And then that leads me to my next question. So, traveling as a wife versus traveling as a single woman, what's the biggest difference in how you move, plan, or even just feel?
Well, for me, I'll be honest, even in the marriage, I used to travel most of the time by myself with my kids, So for me, there wasn't really a big difference. I think the main thing is I don't have to iron clothes. I don't have to really because when you travel with a partner, and I'm just going to use this subjectively, like when you travel with a partner, you kind of have to consider what they can do. You know what I mean? So if there's someone who likes outdoor activities, then you incorporate those. But if there are people who don't like outdoor, now you have to like limit yourself. But when it's just me and my kids are going to do what I want to do, right? And I'll
Yeah.
also consider what I think they should do. But also, if I think something's too challenging or too boring or too historic or too educational for them, they stay at the hotel and I carry on by myself. So I think there's a lot of freedom and just kind of traveling as like, a mom with her kids. There's a lot of freedom in that. I do. I do what I
Okay.
want. Like we go where I want. We do what I want,
No,
whereas versus, we didn't do
that
that
makes
before.
that makes a lot of sense. So you mentioned that when you were married, it was just you and your kids traveling. Do you wish it had been any different? Do you wish you had traveled more with your ex-husband?
No, to be honest, I think what we had then was good enough for that situation and what we had going on. I don't think I would change much from that past as well. I
Okay,
think we did what we could given what we could do. Yeah.
that's fair. And then, what have your kids learned from the road that you couldn't teach them at home?
I think the power of communication.
Hmm.
And why, for me, I think traveling is also great because a lot of parents who have kids with certain conditions shy away from traveling. But what you realize when you travel to a foreign country is that, like, speaking isn't really the only mode of communication,
Hmm.
and people can look different, can do things differently, but you can also learn and exchange and really, like, click with people from abroad.
Hmm.
So every time my kids have gone somewhere, I don't think they've ever felt like, where are we and what's going on and who are these people? They've always kind of been like, oh, okay, these people are different. Oh, they do different things. They might not have been able to communicate,
Hmm.
but they've been able to relate. So they've definitely learned to be more relatable, to be just more worldly, and to just take in different things, which I think also makes them less judgy, less uptight
Hmm.
type people. So
Hmm.
for me, that's really kind of my vibe, and I'd love for my kids to be those type of people.
Yeah, to be more open-minded,
Yeah,
regardless of where you are, what you're from, where you're from or what you eat. We're all, the goal is still the same. We're all the same people.
yeah,
Okay.
definitely.
Okay. And then was there a moment in your journey, maybe walking through a city or hiking a trail, where you realized you were stronger than you thought?
Oh, that's a good question. No, I'll say I mean, I think that the place I have to be the strongest, to be honest, is Zimbabwe. That's the place where I feel like I need to have all 10 toes on the soil. Lifting one toe can just offset a lot of things. So I would say the place I feel I have to be strongest is locally, but abroad, like, a part of me is like I become a lot more easygoing and, like, accepting when I travel. To be honest, I've never really been somewhere but okay, I'll give you a funny story where maybe it's kind of sort of what you're saying, but not quite. Like, my friend Rebecca's going to kill me. So when I was in uni, we went to the Netherlands, right? So traveling isn't something that just happened in marriage. Like, when I was in uni, I'd be working at a cafe trying to
Mhm.
collect my little coin, and me and my friends would stretch our little pounds, and we would, like, be like, let's go to Europe, right?
Yeah.
So we went to the Netherlands, and I remember we thought we were staying in Amsterdam, and we weren't. We were staying, like, just outside Amsterdam. So we took an evening flight because we just did not plan the whole thing well, right? Took an evening flight. We ended up having to get a train outside of Amsterdam at midnight or something like that. We didn't know how the transport system worked. We got there and the last train was done. There were no taxis. We didn't have a local line. And here are two Black girls in in an outskirts type town where they don't speak English. So I remember my friend was like, well, what do we do? Because we've just gotten here. We don't have, like, a phone to call a taxi. There are no cars because it's like 1 a.m. in the morning. What are we going
Mhm.
to do? So I was like to her, well, we just have to stand on the side of the road, right? So I'm that type of person who most of the time I'm not really scared of a lot of things. I'm just that type of
Yeah.
person. So I was like, oh, we just have to, like, pull over a car. And she was like, pull over a car? What do you mean? And I was like, well, what else are we going to do? So we were there and we were, like, trying to haul cars down, like, and they were coming very infrequently. And then we pulled over this one dude, and he was from, oh my God, some country we'd never heard of, but it was like somewhere from South America, right?
Okay.
I can't even remember what it was at the time, but he looked brown. So that
But
for
it's
me
at
was
1 a.m.
yes. Because I was like, I feel like we have better chances with Black people in a foreign country than white. I don't know why I felt that way, but I was like, well, at least he's Black. Right. So we get into his car, and I remember, she looks at me and she's like, this could go so many ways, Sonia. Like, if this man decides to then that's human
Kidnap
trafficking. I
us.
mean, what are we going to do? So I looked at her and I was like, well, we just have to, like, jump out of the car if it gets to that. Right. And I remember she looked at me. She was like, so to be honest with you, it was real. Like, it was the fear in that moment.
Sonia, I think we're losing you again.
this. I don't know what's going on. Sorry, we also just kind of, let's just get on with it. Like, I don't know where the strength kind of.
Sonia, are you still there?
And we got. Yes, I am. I don't know if it's the
Okay, you just came
Wi-Fi.
back.
Let me.
It's kind of glitching in and out.
Hi, is it better? Is
Yes,
this
I think
better?
you're back in. Yes, much better.
Is this better? Yeah, I just switched off the
Yes.
Wi-Fi. I think the network is dropping. So
Okay.
yeah, in that moment, I mean, it could have gone any way, but God just kind of let me know that we'll get to wherever we need to get to, but these are just the steps that we need to take to get there. So I was brave enough
And
to
it
just
and
be
it
like, well, we
worked
can't
out. You're
sleep on
still
the
here.
It did, and he was a lovely guy. I wish I remembered the country that he was
Yeah.
from, because I remember I hadn't heard of it before. But we were lucky because in that instance, he spoke, just enough English for us to be like, here, like take
This
us
is where
here.
we're trying to go.
You know what I mean? Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
And then, so what you've described is travel can be a powerful tool, so to speak. So, what are some ways do you think women can use travel to spot red flags early in a marriage?
Ooh. Well, listen, we can look at it objectively. I don't know if it has to be particularly marriage, but I think
Mhm.
when you go to foreign countries and language, like if there's a breakdown in that language barrier and how difficult it is to express yourself to someone who you just don't understand, I would say definitely learn from that. I think problem solving is also really good. I actually think traveling as a couple before you get married is good because when you travel, some people can it can be like a high intense environment for some people, right? So you actually do see some of their strengths and their flaws, because some people
Yeah.
panic, and when they panic they become difficult to be around. Some people are
Yes.
very easygoing. It doesn't matter. They can be like, no, don't worry, we'll figure it out, or no, we'll get the next train, or no, let's just get into an Uber. There's some people, you see their problem solving skills,
Yep.
and if you're compatible to them, some people you see are we visit are, is one person wanting to do the adrenaline type thing and one person just preferring to go shopping, and you can see that, okay, because this is something that I can tolerate or not tolerate. Can we sit just the two of us? Like if there's no network or Wi-Fi where we're going, can we actually just be in a room, the
Yep.
two of us, without having to without anything to distract us, and be good and have a good time? I mean, can we play chess together? Can we do something that doesn't involve the internet? So I
Mhm.
actually think traveling is a great thing to do with someone if you can. Like, imagine driving 5 hours with someone in the car.
Yep.
Like, if the 5 hours you want to pull your hair out, that is probably not the person you need to marry. You know what I mean?
Yeah. It
So
shows
I
whether or not you're compatible.
think definitely. And it also
Okay.
shows you what you want, because I think when you travel, if you're a woman, you want to feel like you're with someone who you trust can lead, trust can solve a problem, trust is in control of a situation. So, all those things present themselves. But if everything is like high tense and anxiety levels are up, then it's probably not going to be for you.
It's a red flag.
It's this the red flag.
Okay. So travel seems like a luxury to the average person, especially in Zimbabwe. Can you share a budget friendly vacation that you've taken in Zimbabwe that you could recommend to our audience?
I'm glad you said that. Not all travel has to be bougie.
No.
And not all travel has to be, budget breaking, guys. So whenever we do our girls' trips, everyone contributes to the hotel bill, the fuel, the food, the chef. And traveling in big groups helps bring that price down, right?
Mhm.
So, especially if that's locally and even internationally, I mean, you don't have to stay in a hotel, go to an Airbnb. In a lot
Yep.
of countries, you can survive off eating noodles. No one has to know you're in that
Yeah.
country eating noodles. You know what I mean? I think a lot of people, because of social media and the pressures of social media, feel like if I'm not posting like I'm in first class and in business class, then I haven't traveled, or that's not post worthy. But I think we need to kind of like get out of that culture,
Yep.
of being like, oh, you only post if it's like first class or business class or whatever. I mean, listen, yes, they're just at the front of the aircraft and it is very, very, very nice. The service is great up there. but we're
Mhm.
literally going and getting to the same place in the same time.
Yes. And the experience and the moments, yours could even be better than the ones in first class or
You're
business class,
probably around
depending on
more
who you're
people who are
traveling with.
relatable. Yeah. So for me, I would say if travel by yourself is expensive, definitely go in groups. I would definitely say budget to travel. You don't have to like be like, oh, this weekend I need to do this. No, if you want to go on a vacation in 6 months, have a little like savings. You can have a Master's card or a Visa card, a MasterCard or a Visa card, where you every year just say, or every month just say, I'm putting my 150 in that account. And then when it's up to 3,000, I look at it and I say, what fits in the budget? Or have your eye on a certain promotion and be like, right, I need to save this amount of money. I would say, the world that we live in now, there's so many packages, so many offers. And especially if you're in like countries like Europe, I mean, you can get on a flight for like €50. So
Mhm.
what if it's not like, and they don't even have first class in
Mhm.
like most of these countries when a flight is less than an hour. So
Mhm.
like it's in Zim when you're flying to, Bulawayo or Vic Falls. I mean, there's no first class. People just get on the flight and go. So I would say if traveling is your thing, definitely be intentional about it. Go online, spend the time looking at the packages, the countries you want to go to, and put money aside for it. And be intentional. Like sometimes go to certain countries that shopping is just not part of it. So if you're Black, you're not going to the Philippines or Thailand for shopping because the clothes won't fit you. You know what I mean?
That makes me feel better.
So go to countries like that because
Mhm.
much shopping is not part. It's about the food and the activities. So be intentional also where you do go. And then there are certain countries where the money needs to be correct. Like your money needs to be correct if you're going to Singapore, if you're going to Monaco,
Mhm.
you're going to Switzerland. There's some countries where
Mhm.
like the euro is euroing,
Yeah.
so budget longer for that. Make that a 2-year budget or something like that.
Okay.
But I would really say I think don't slip into the hype of being like it has to be first class and the room has to be this and that. Like when I was growing up with my friends, we used to live in we'd stay in like hostels.
Mhm.
So we would be staying in a room with like 10 people we don't know. You know what I mean?
The
And like we'd have a small
experiences.
bag. Yeah, that's where I started from. You know what I mean? So for me, I totally get that. I mean, some people just drive to a game park and just set up a tent. You know what I mean? So it's really what you want. If you want the experience, I would say don't let anything get in the way. Be intentional and plan. Yeah.
Okay. And what's your favorite destination in Zimbabwe that you think is budget friendly?
In Zimbabwe, uh, I would say objectively, I would have to say Nyanga
Okay.
because my daughter's coming in. I would say Nyanga because it's like 3 hours. I would say like say hi. Hi. Say
Hi,
hi,
Minana.
Auntie. Hello.
Hi.
The one who had to play, but it's really way past my kid's bedtime, so I don't. Okay, no, not yet. But anyway, I would say Inyanga for a couple of reasons because it's accessible. It's a three
Mhm.
hour drive. You don't have to buy a flight. You don't have to like, charter a flight to go to Inyanga. You can drive your 3 hours. I think it has a full range of accommodation. You can get your affordable chalets. You can get your fancy Airbnb type, B&Bs. And when you're there, you don't really have to pay to do a lot of the activities. So you can just go hiking, which is free. You can stay in a beautiful chalet and just brine, which
Mhm.
obviously you pay for the meat, but you're not really having to pay for like whatever activities, right? So I would say Inyanga is definitely a good entry level. And it's close. So I look at things like that. How accessible is a place? And I think that definitely um, informs how accessible or affordable or decent a place is.
Okay, that's awesome. And then for all our guests that are currently joining us, if you have any questions for Sonia, send, respond at the bottom and I'll ask those questions, like and share this interview. The more people that can learn about travel, that travel is accessible to everybody, the better. And then Sonia, what's your favorite destination in the whole wide world?
The one country that I would go back to again and again and again and again. Sorry. I would say because I'm a mom and because I think you have a different experience in different countries. I would say if I wanted to have fun and have money and be with someone I like, and it's us as adults, I would definitely go back to Monaco with a lover. If I wanted to go somewhere, although I've never taken my kids there, but somewhere where I would love, when I went when I was really young, and the memory is still so vivid in my head. I would go to Thailand. I think Thailand is a brilliant place for families. If it's just a place for self, where I would go back to over and over, I would definitely go back to Jamaica.
Okay.
And over again.
Yeah. Okay. And what did you like about Jamaica? Was it the vibe? Was it the food? What was it?
I've never been somewhere where everyone is just so warm. Like, you go somewhere and you feel like, I know these people. Like, these people know me. I mean, like, the guy who picked us up from the airport was so sweet, was so nice. And he was telling us what to do, what not to do. It's kind of like, you everywhere you go, you just feel a strong sense of, like, warmth. And everyone was just vibes. Like, no one has energy to not be in a good mood or to have a mood in Jamaica. Everyone is just trying
vibing the whole time.
Yeah, and I really thought that was positive because you don't get the sense of like urgency or people having to go somewhere, therefore just kind of being short with you. Everyone is so easygoing and it's relaxed.
Okay. Now, would you say travel became part of your healing? And if it did, describe a moment where you felt free and happy.
Ooh. Part of my healing. I think that I'm trying to think of the places I've been to. Listen, I think I'm very grateful that travel is still a big part of my life, firstly. And I think the healing just came from allowing myself to heal. So I don't think it's location specific. I don't want to spew the wrong kind of thing where it's like, oh, eat, pray, and love in India. No, I think you can heal anywhere in the world. I don't think you have to heal on a holiday, which is maybe a week long. I don't think that's enough anyway. I think I think if there was a holiday that just made me turn the corner, it was probably like Japan, because of everything that was going on there. That just made me be like, okay, I really need to pull my socks up. Like, I really need to toughen up, and this is what the game is. You know what I mean? Yeah. So it just made me grow up a bit more, but I wouldn't say it helped me heal. But everywhere else has just been more for me, like just enjoying and vibing and things like that, which have helped heal in the long run. Because I mean, after a year, I'm not gonna lie, like for me, I'm in a good space. I'm not gonna lie,
okay.
But I can't say
you're ready for chapter 2.
Yeah, but I can't say it's just because of travel. It's just something I'm grateful to have in my life, but I can't be like it's just because of travel. No, and I don't want to also go out and say that. Yeah.
Okay, and then what's something that travel has taught you about trusting yourself again?
Well, it's just always taught me that I know how to problem solve. That I do.
Okay.
It doesn't matter where you put me, I figure things out. Like, let me tell you, when we went to Spain, my son wanted to watch a match, right? Mm-hmm. And it was such a great experience, but I can't remember if it was in a different town. So we had to get on the train, go to this different town. Whilst we were there were Ubers. We were too many people for the Ubers. They were taking us to a stadium. They dropped us off at the wrong stadium. Then we had to walk like 5 kilometers with 2 kids to get to the correct stadium. Me and my friends were in separate Ubers. We didn't have local lines, so we couldn't speak. And, we had to get into the studio, but to get into the stadium, I needed the barcode. The barcode was on my friend's phone, and I have these 2 little kids. And if I tell you, I managed to just get us to where we need to get to by literally just talking to people, hotspotting off strangers, and, sharing an absolutely lovely moment with my son when he saw his dream soccer player, which is Kylian Mbappe.
Oh, wow.
yeah, I just really, there's never been a country I've been to and I've been completely stuck, to be honest. I've always been able to ask myself out of a situation, pre-plan in a
Okay.
situation, and kind of connect the dots and say, okay, so I'm going to do this. And after I do that, I'm going to have to do this. And then how do we get there? And then my plan always just seems to go fairly well. You know what I mean? So I'm trying to say I'm really intelligent or I'm a badass. No, but I just feel like it's just another problem solving thing that I do. And I problem solve well.
That's awesome. Okay, so do you believe travel gave you something that therapy or books couldn't during this transition?
Yeah, it definitely did. As I said, it shows you the world is bigger than,
You.
what you, yeah, it's bigger than you. It's bigger than, it's bigger than your situation. You know what I mean? And if you want to, you can choose something else. As I said, you can go to, but hypothetically, you can go to Germany tomorrow and be on Tinder and just be 33, single with no kids. You can choose to tell someone if you have kids or not. You can choose to tell
Hmm.
people why you're in Germany. You can choose. Like, you realize that, you still have choices in life. It's what you decide to do, and that in itself is something that I think you do need to hold on to. I think you do need to, you like, never stop believing in yourself and believing that, you can still, you might be derailed, but you can
Yeah,
still get to the same destination, just maybe, on an off-road.
yeah,
So for me, I love going places, meeting people, learning cultures, and and I love having friends from different places as well. I do. I love having someone who I can just be like, oh, hey, we met here. Do you remember? Oh, what's this place? Like, I still have people I talk to, met, different places, like, from all over the world. So be that person. Like, when you do go out to travel, talk to people, meet people. I have people who still message me from Jamaica. I've got this Nigerian girl I met in the Maldives who I still talk to. Like, why not? Why not have that type of global network as well? You know?
yeah. It's a global village after all. And then I'm going to take a question from our audience. So they said, how do you find good local food when you travel?
I always ask, when you get from the airport, your driver usually is the stitch.
Yes,
The
I agree.
ask the people who are taking you from places to ask the waiters, ask, the person at reception. Go on Google. I love TikTok. TikTok is great for
Mhm.
that type of do things. Always go to TripAdvisor. Like, there's some things, like, you might not go to the restaurant, but if everyone says you need to have a cream donut, go find a place where you can get a cream donut if you go to a certain country. So
Okay.
I'll give you an example. There's when we were in Monaco, the airport was in Nice when we were flying out, and there's an Indian guy who chauffeured us to the airport,
Hmm.
and he was really asking me a lot of questions, right? So I just kind of like, okay, well, I mean, it's a 50-minute drive. Are we really going to talk the whole 50 minutes? But when we were getting close to Nice, he was like to me, thank you so much for, like, entertaining me. And I was like, okay, no, you're welcome. And I was like, and he's like, I learned something a few months ago. And I was like, you learned something a few months? What do you mean? And he's like, do you know I drove Beyonce and I had no clue who she was. And I was like, oh,
Wow.
you didn't
You
know
don't.
Queen Bee? That was like my shock. I was like, how do you not know Beyonce? Right? But he was like, no, like, where I'm from, when he was Indian, he was like, where I'm from, we know Rihanna more than we know Beyonce, you know?
Beyonce. Mhm.
And I guess when someone doesn't have the full shebang and, the leotard and the glitz and whatnot, maybe she's not like Beyonce, you know? Maybe she's just Mama Blue. I don't know, but he
Yeah.
was like, imagine I drove Beyonce from one hotel to the exact same airport I'm taking you to. And he's like, she got out of the car and then I saw the swarm of paparazzi. And he's like, I had no clue, like, what was going on, and he's like, I had to ask people to be like, why did you guys
What's
all flock to
happening?
this person? And then he was like, someone was like, that's Beyonce. And he's like, and I had to Google her. Like, who is Beyonce? And it's like, now I'm seeing all of these things like pop up on the internet. And he was like, the whole trip, I was quiet. And the whole trip, she kept on asking, like, "Oh, so what type of music do you listen to? Or do you like this artist?" And she was like having a full blown conversation, like playing her playlist. She was like,
Wow.
and he was like, she even played some of her songs, and I was just kind of like, you know what I mean? So he was like, I learned that, if you don't open your mouth and get to know people, you could miss certain people completely,
And
So
sometimes you could miss an opportunity.
exactly. So that also showed me a lot. He was like, imagine I was in a car with her for close to an hour. I completely had no idea.
Okay.
So he's like,
I'm going
since
to
then, I learned that, talk to whoever, is in the car if they're willing to talk to you.
Okay. I'm going to take another question from our audience, and I want to encourage our audience to share the live, send your questions for Sonja. Our next
For me.
question is,
That's all. Yeah.
okay, so our next question is, I admire your openness and open-mindedness.
Mhm.
What fearly experiences helped shape your mindedness, and how can we help kids grow up with that same mindset?
So that's be a scary, I've never heard fearly. So a scary experience that shaped my mind.
Yes.
Well, probably the scariest thing that did shape my mind was when I went and moved to go live in the Middle East. So if you can imagine, that was a completely different country, completely different culture, different religion. And I was going there for school, and it was such a big cultural shock. But so in that instant, I was scared because I left Zimbabwe and I was already in school. I was, I'm there. They just learn different, and, it was just a complete cultural shock.
Yep.
But after a couple of months of talking, settling in, getting on with school, and realizing that at the end of the day, I mean, we're all kids and all having to do the same thing. I love the fact that I was at a multicultural school with lots of different people. And the teachers were different and the country was different. And also it was scary, but it's like, well, you can live anywhere in the world.
Yep.
Really, if you just kind of, I'm sure you probably feel the same thing in the States when you probably left and you went to a different country. You're probably like, whoa, like, what is this? And is this
Yep.
really what I want? And, am I homesick? Am I all these things? But then after a couple of months, you settle in, you create your routine, and you get onto it. So probably the most dramatic thing was, leaving Zimbabwe. But at the end of the day, it probably ended up rewarding me the most because it informed my open-mindedness. I mean, for me, you can sit me with Muslims. We're just going to get on with it. You can put me next to a Buddhist or a Hinduist, and I'm going to be like, okay, cool. Like, okay. Like for me, I just realized that, life is really, I mean, something that my dad taught me, which I thought was really life-changing, was that a lot of the things that form your DNA aren't actually even in your control.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So for instance, I'm Christian because I was born in a Christian country, but had I been born anywhere in the Middle East, I would be a Muslim. So that's something
Absolutely.
completely out of my control. It's geographic, but it's a big
So
part of someone,
basically, your
form.
truth is geographic. What you
Yeah, your
term as
truth. I mean, and it's probably a lot of things. It could be geographic, it could be spiritual,
Mhm.
it could be a lot of things. But you definitely get that sense that a lot of things that you want to hold dear to yourself, to be like, I must be a woman who is like this, and I must be someone like this. If you go somewhere else where they just don't do that, you just realize it's in your head. It's in your head and in your upbringing. Sis,
It's a lot of
relax.
conditioning.
It's conditioning. Same thing. If we, I mean, like, and I just want to say this, and thank you for all the people who do like follow me, because the other day there was someone who I think replied the flyer that I posted, and she sent me pictures of herself in Iceland.
Oh wow.
Like, they're black people in Iceland? Like, how was I, huh? Like, oops, she went to Iceland. What's she doing in Iceland? She was sending me all these pictures, and she was saying about how she swam in like the water. It was 2 degrees, and I was like,
Wow.
okay, sis, like, but I feel like that's really cool. Someone else would have been like, we don't swim in winter, but it's like they swim when it's 2 degrees Celsius and it's snowing. Like, that's what they do there. Because if you're going to be like, no, I only swim when it's 25 degrees and warmer, then you're not going to swim in Iceland. You know what I mean? So,
Yep.
I just take it as it comes and as it goes. I think that's my vibe.
And it works. It works. Now tell me, do you think travel was ever used as a band aid in your marriage, like luxury without peace?
Oh, the whole like being in a golden cage. There was definitely shut up trips. Yeah, there were a few shut up trips. Just get on with it trips. Um, I don't know if I got sorry trips. Hey, I didn't get a lot of sorries in that marriage. But yeah, there were some trips where you were just told, just get out of my space. Get out of my space.
Okay.
They
Okay.
were there. Yeah,
Okay.
but listen, I'm so grateful for them because you know what? I mean, I still got to go out. I'm gonna take the lemon. I'm gonna make the lemonade. Beyonce told
Lemonade.
us make the lemonade.
Hmm.
So yeah, they were definitely those trips. But
Okay. So you got the advantage of seeing new places,
yeah.
though the incentive was skewed. Okay, so we'll leave that there. So Sonia, you used to travel as Wicknell's wife. Now you
hmm
travel as Sonia. What is the big difference in how the world receives you and how you show up?
Listen, I think that's actually what I love about when I travel because nobody knows who Wicknell is in Japan. You want to check into the hotel or not? Give me your passport. Like that is international. There's
Mhm.
no. I actually like that. I mean, when I go out to other countries, I'm just a mom with two kids and a nanny. That's it. Like I'm not that. There's no special treatment. There's no nothing. I just get on with it. And I'm that type of person who I don't think I ever really wanted to be treated any differently. I think
Yep.
all of that mattered to Zimbabweans.
Yep.
But everybody else was kind of like, sis, get on with it. So you're next in the
We don't care who
queue.
you are.
Yeah. So I actually love that. I love going to random places and no one knowing who I am. You know,
Okay,
I
that's
don't like the
awesome.
queues. I think the queues can be a bit irritating depending on the time that I've arrived and if I've got my children's. But overall, I've never gone to a country where it's like that's been a pro or a con, or there's been, and even that, like, a lot of the times I'll travel and I'll just have my kids. People don't even know if I'm married. People don't even know if I'm divorced. People don't even know anything.
They
I'm
don't
just
care.
checking in. So they don't
Yeah.
care as well. Like, how many people do these people see every day? You know what I mean? Like, why is your story so special?
Okay, that's awesome. And
I don't
what
post, like, no one really cares, right? So
okay, and what kind of service do you get in Zimbabwe? How is it any different to when you travel internationally?
there's certain cards you can play, you know what I mean? Here and there. Where, I don't know. And like Zimbabweans are so bad. Like, I'm going to take this moment to actually just use Zimbabweans. You guys, you want a chief, you want a boss, you want, an ogre. Like, you love that. Oh, let me help you. It's like you being accused, like somewhere, something. Like, okay, there's a shop I went into today. So that's the
Hmm.
most vivid in my. They're absolutely lovely, guys. I think it's a total by HSPD roundabout. Absolutely lovely bunch of women. And every time I go in there, they know my kids because my kids can go into a shop and just terrorize the aisles and be like, this, that, this, that. So every time I go in there, they're like, oh, we're the kids. They will offer to push my trolley. They will offer to be like, what can we get for you? All of this stuff. You know what I mean? When I'm kind of like, let me push my trolley and just get on with it. You know what I mean? Like that card only works really, I think, in Zim for me.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay. Do you enjoy it sometimes? Like, you know what? I really don't get this elsewhere without tipping. And in Zim, I can get this for free.
Yeah, it's nice, when your bags are overweight. And it's nice, when you're in trouble with like people, like the police sometimes be like, oh, I shouldn't have been on my phone. I'm so sorry. But like overall, like I'm not really someone who takes advantage of that. And it's not really like my vibe.
That's good. That's really awesome.
Yeah.
Again, to our audience, send your questions for Sonia. Like, subscribe, and share the link. So, Sonia, how has your travel journey helped you redefine success outside of marriage or wealth?
How has my travel journey helped me redefine success? Well,
Mm-hmm.
I'll split that question. When you go to certain countries, Like, I remember when we went to Monaco, we were on a boat ride, and this, the guide, who was a really cool dude, was like, "Can you see this?" There were like buildings on the shore of like south of France. So it was an apartment, and then the top of the penthouse is valued at $300 million USD. And he said this, and I remember I was like to him, "An apartment is 300 million USD? Like, what's in this apartment?" And like, you're making this up, because I don't understand how that you can probably buy a town for $300 million. Why would you buy an apartment? And I was denying it. So I was like, I don't believe that. And then he was all like, they price things because they know there's a market. So
Absolutely.
there's someone who can afford that $300 million apartment. And I think it just showed me that, you might grow up sometimes in a pond, but there's definitely a pool, and there's definitely like a lake, and there's definitely, an ocean. And, so when you go somewhere, do take it in, and it helps you recalibrate, I think, your targets. Because sometimes you'll just be saying, "Oh God, if I can just buy a car," or "Oh God, if I can just, do this to my house." But then you go to a place and you see a nicer house and you see a nicer car, and you're like, "Oh my God, okay, maybe I need to work a little bit harder. Maybe I need to do this. Maybe I need to find another revenue stream." So it is good. I think go to places and take that in. Like, if you can go somewhere and try the Wagyu, go understand why a Wagyu is a Wagyu. Go.
It's a big deal.
Because then you're going to be like, "No, when it comes to steak, I want to work hard so that I can only order the Wagyu."
Yes.
Be that person, and then work hard at it, put your mind towards it. And so I think there's never a ceiling, and do go to places that continue to make you push that. And I think we really want to make some things about whether you're married. Same thing. I mean, you can go to places like Monaco, just to touch on the bit where you were like relationship and. I mean, you go to Monaco, and you see these stunning women with these old dudes driving fancy cars, and we all see the cliche TikTok video. Go marry a rich white dude in Monaco if you want that sugar baby experience. You know what I mean? It's there for the taking. You might not be the right age or whatever, but like, it's literally like, you can, sometimes what someone would have shown you, someone else can show you something completely different. Because when I went to, like, in Zim, if you are dating even a successful person, chances are they'll take you to like Womble's if they take you to a nice restaurant, you know what I mean? And they'll think they've done well, or maybe they'll fly you out to Joburg and take you to a nice seafood restaurant, right? If you go to Monaco, honey, he'll take you to a Michelin star restaurant, where the chef is like, he's French or Japanese, and he comes out to introduce himself. So there's always like, the level can always be redefined. So be flexible, be open-minded. I don't know everything. I haven't seen everything in life, and there's definitely more out there that I can learn and take and, multiply. So that would definitely be my advice.
Okay, no, that's great advice. I have a question for you from the audience. They say, any advice on how I can help my ex understand the value of his kids traveling and experiences, and the importance of his financial contribution?
Sorry, so you're saying, sorry, who's calling? Sorry, who is this? Yeah. Sorry, you said the question is?
Okay, so the question is, any advice on how I can help my ex understand the value of his kids traveling and experiences, and the importance of his financial contribution?
You know what? It's such a sad question, because travel with people before you get married. You know what I mean? It's like you learn their mannerisms and their habits. There are just some men who don't value travel. They're just there. There's some men who they can have $1 million, but they'll still just go to the farm on the weekend.
Yep.
And for them, that's a good time, and they've used their money well and wisely, right? Then there's some men who, we still have, I think, that lingering generation of people who struggled growing up. So for them, just the fact that you live in the suburbs is good enough. Now you want to go to Joburg. Then there's some people who are still in that kind of situation in Zim where, during, 2008, then thereabouts, we only went to South Africa to buy my groceries. So you only go to South Africa when you need to buy groceries.
Yep.
And then, there's some men who then came in with that slay, Sasko slay queen trend where you go to SA for a good time only. I need to get away from my family. So it's about what type of man do you have, sis? Because if you have the type of man that thinks, a certain type of way about each or every one of those categories, it's going to be hard to convince him. That's the truth. It is going to be hard because I think that's why you really have to know who you're partnering and pairing with. But I would always come from an angle from the kids and just say, in the beginning of the term, all kids come to school and write about their holiday.
Yes.
And, you can't take your kids to certain schools because a lot of Zimbabweans do that, right? They like taking their kids to certain schools. But then the kids are like misfits or feel like we don't deserve to be here because other people are talking about going to Kariba for a weekend or for whatever, other people went to falls or whatever, but we were just you know what I mean? And they're like, Ish, I can't speak, you know what I mean? So I would say you have to, if you want a certain life for your children, there are certain sacrifices you have to make. And I would always say, encourage your partner to say, we're in our 30s, right? Or 40s or whatever age you are in. We've lived the bulk of our life, but we have so much power to shape these little minds into the kind of people we want. So for me, I look at different leaders in the world, right? And I'll say things like, I look at Putin and I'm not looking at him as a politician or as a leader, but I'm looking at him as just kind of the makeup of him, the fact that, he does horse riding, he's a black belt, he's this. I love that. So I'll look at my kids and say, you know what, if I can take qualities from this and that and this, and we can do that. Same thing, why can't our kids do things like karate or ice skating or whatever we've seen online and we like? It's the same thing with travel. Your kids must go to different places, and it mustn't be because we just need to buy groceries. Let your kids go and experience different things. Let them go to an ice rink. Let them go to South Africa and, go to a 5D movie where the chairs and all that movie, because that's the only place they're going to get these things, because some of these things are just not available locally. So if you just don't want someone who is okay with their kids being like goldfish in a pond, in like a little, glass bubble. And I would say, you have the power to shape your kids. So talk to them just like that, to say the kids need experiences. The kids need to get out. And also Zim can be quite stifling if you don't also allow people to breathe this. And it doesn't have to be expensive. I mean, you don't have to fly, take the bus or drive. People still drive. Even if you're staying with family and friends and it's not in a hotel, it's still an outing so that the kids can see different things. You'll be shocked that, my kids sometimes get shocked that my kids don't go out in certain places, there's street lights. You know what I mean? I mean, and we're not happy and proud about it, but like in some countries, if you go to some countries at night, it's still just as good as, being out during the day. So kids, I would say just lead from a point of view of that and just saying, incorporate it in a budget. It can be at least start with asking for one trip a year. Ask for, one trip a year. Let's work towards that. Make it affordable, make it accessible. It's so important, I think, especially in a global world, because what happens is a lot of kids would have grown up maybe not doing these things. But your dad will drive the Benz. But your dad, the money will be there, but it's just not
It's just not a priority.
It's just not a priority to raise well-rounded kids. The kids will be going to private school because the money's there. But again, that culture and character building just isn't there. But then these kids will go through high school, and then those are the ones who will go to the UK and America and just say, I don't ever want to go back to them.
Yeah.
And then now you as parents are looking back and you're like, oh my God, they don't want to come back to it. But it's because you denied, like you starved them of this stuff their whole life. So this is one girl who I knew, once she went to the States, she was like, oh, you have to send me back in a coffin. I'm not leaving this. I'm not leaving this. I'm not leaving this. Do you know what I mean? So then you as the parents are now old and you haven't seen your kids in years. But it's that type of stuff. If the means and the whatnots that they try, if the kids can also go on school trips, let them go. Let them go see what's out there, I would say. Me permitting, of course. Yeah.
Okay, no, that's good advice. So Sonia, how do you balance fitness? So when you travel, I know you have a strict fitness regime. So when you travel, talk to me about how you handle that.
Ooh, traveling is so bad, guys, because
Mhm.
I am a big foodie, big foodie. Um, so I mean, I always pack my gym gear because I always say at least if it's there and I see it, it mentally tells me this needs to be done. Whether it gets done once or twice, I'm not gonna beat myself up about it, but as long as I'm walking. So if I don't
Mhm.
physically go to the gym, but we're walking everywhere we need to do, and I'm getting in my steps, that's fine. As long as I'm drinking water wherever we are, I'm okay with that. And when it comes to food, I try order like clean food. I do try.
Okay.
I do try. I do try. So like I will. I'm very okay with going to bed on a Caesar salad. Why? I love a Caesar salad. It has a lot of the things that I like, and I'll order Caesar salad and I'll be happy. You know. So for me, if you go to a lot of these like Michelin star restaurants, it's not like you're eating a lot of food on the plate. And I'm not
Mhm.
saying go out and go to Michelin star restaurants, but I'm just trying to show the mentality that you don't have to eat a lot, but you can
Mhm.
still have a great food experience. So I will try be, or sometimes I'll order off the kids' menu because the quantities
It's
are good. And I'll
smaller.
try to limit my alcohol intake. I will.
Okay.
I'll try limit my alcohol intake. It's not always easy, but I try.
Okay. And do you go to the gym? Like if you're staying in a hotel that has a gym, are you kind of disciplined
I
about waking
always
up
make
and
sure I
going
see
to
the
the gym?
gym. Yes, and I'll try to go to the gym once or twice. I will. I will. If we're
Okay.
not walking a lot, because a lot of my holidays we tend to do a lot of like activities, so I do walk a lot. So I don't feel that guilty because we will be walking a lot. So it just depends on the type of vibe.
Okay. Now, my last question, Sonia,
Okay, I'm
um,
coming.
because I know
Mm-hmm.
it's a school week and the kids have to go to bed, is probably the
Me
one
too.
that's going to inspire and help a lot of women. So many women fear the unknown, as you know,
Yeah.
more than the
Mm-hmm.
pain they're used to. What gave you the
That's so
courage to
true.
finally choose peace over familiarity?
I knew it. I was like, all of this stuff, she wants to disguise it in travel. She wants to know, where do I get the strength?
Yes.
Do you know what? I just want to say, Yasha, I love women and I love young girls. I do.
Yeah.
But I don't want people to. I'm so careful about this story because I really don't want people to be like, Sonia said this, or Sonia said it's easy, or Sonia, no, 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 no,
Yeah.
no, no. These are heartbreaking, hard decisions. I had a child with a special, condition. It was the hardest decision I had to make for myself. Be like, do I disrupt, what he's used to? So it's not easy, and it's not easy, and it's also, and the unfortunate thing is it also depends who you're married to, because some men can just become really mean just because they
Mm-hmm.
can,
Yep.
instead of you taking the time to actually really understand, like, okay, how did we get here, and maybe I was wrong, and maybe I could have done certain things better. A lot of men struggle with that completely. So for me, I'm not gonna lie to you, I just got to a point where I was at my breaking point, and I remember my weight at the time. I was 99 kgs. I went to my gynae, and actually my period had stopped. My period had stopped for
Wow.
like 2, 3 months. And I was like, I know I'm not pregnant. You know what I mean? I went to my gynae. My gynae was like, well, what's going on? You're the same weight you were before you gave birth to both your kids. So, and there's no baby. So what's going on? So
Yeah.
the signs of it taking a physical toll on me were there. The signs of potentially getting BP were there.
Okay.
I got tired of also, um, just becoming someone I'm not. I got tired of, you know, having to be like, what's going on and who's this and that. That's not me. Everyone who knows me, I'm a very easygoing person. I like vibes. Like when you see me having a good time with my friends, that's me. So it got to a point where I couldn't look at any aspect of it and actually be like, this still gives me joy. This still works. So this still, I just had nothing else to hold on to. Maybe let me say that. And I remember I got to a point I just said to myself, I can't see myself 20 years down the line, if this is the direction and if this is the speed and the pace, I don't think I'm going to make it. That's literally what I said. And I made the decision blindly. I didn't know how it was going to turn out. I mean, it's not like it's always easy. It's not like everything comes easy. I'm not going to lie. He's been amazing thus far. But it could have gone really bad. It could have gone left as well. So that's why I don't want to ever come online and give women advice. I don't know what your dude is like. I don't know why he would be nice to you or why he would be. I don't want to. And this, I don't know about you. You understand? So I'm not gonna speak and tell you what to do about you. That is not my place. But I got to a point where it was either or. It was either the marriage was going to continue or I was going to lose myself. And then I think I had to look at my kids and say, but I've got a child who really needs me to be the strongest and the best I can be for him. And this relationship's not going to allow me to do that.
Yep.
You know, so, and also it was very spiritual. I prayed for a very long time. And, you know, you consult other women who've done it. And I always tell people, like I had a friend, I do have a friend, she's still there, Jessie. She told me, she was like, as long as you still need to ask someone how to leave somebody, you're not ready. You're not ready. Because she's like, there are people who be able to, talking about that. Like, and you're like, oh, when? And she was like, yeah. So if you're still like, oh, should I? What do you, you're not ready, babes. You're not at your breaking point. I was at my breaking point. And I just said to myself, I just feel, and I really do believe in God. Like, and I really do believe in life. And what I mean by that is, I really do think God put us on earth to live our best life, you know, to live in the Garden of Eden. Like, I do. And sometimes it's not the Garden of Eden, you know what I mean? But you can have a healthy relationship in another way, right, with that person. And also, I think it gets to a point with the other person where you also have to see, is this person trying?
Yep.
And if you see that the person is not trying and doesn't care, because the thing that I would always say is, you need to remember when marriages break down, I would be damned if I walked away from a marriage with BP, sugar, whatever STIs, and now I'm stuck with all of these chronic diseases. And I got these diseases because someone else was having a good time.
Yep.
So you'll be having a good time somewhere else. But what I walk away from the relationship is all of that. So if these people both having a good time, it's okay. But if one person is definitely not having a good time,
then that's not fair.
I would say, boy, what do you hang on to? At least if we're both, you know, if they're good times in there, you know, which is true. I mean, if you're dating a woman and buy her cars and expensive things to make it tolerable, you know what I mean? But yeah, it gets to a point where like she starts scratching your head to be like, oh, I don't know. You know, but I'm not gonna lie. My baby daddy has been good thus far. It's not always smooth. You know, we just don't come online and post some screenshots and some audios. You know?
That's good. That's healthy. That's healthy.
But, yes, but that's what I'm saying. So I don't want to ever come here and encourage people to be like, leave these marriages that aren't working for you. Listen, and divorce is not easy. I don't also want people to look at my story and say, oh, but she, you know, had the glow up and now she's happy and she's this and that. You know what I mean? I'm not going to post the downs, the days when I'm tired, but I just intentionally make decisions to be like, I need to get up, I need to do this. That's why I like doing things which have a bit of a routine. I love going to the gym, love going to the farm, love doing my little bits and pieces. I stay busy and, you know, I'm just taking the time off to be myself. You know what I mean?
Yep.
So,
and it seems like you have a really great support system.
I do, and I did. But not everyone is going to be for you. So don't do it also because of your support system. The decision you make must be for you, for you by yourself, because you're the one who's going to walk that journey, whether it's good or bad.
That's awesome. Sonja, I cannot thank you enough for coming on tonight and sharing about travel.
I love you, girl. I love my flowers. I'm definitely going to post them.
I love you too,
so,
Sonja.
Thank you so much. I'm so sorry for all the chaos. I really apologize, guys. Let me tell you, I chaosed Nyasha. She's been trying to organize these things systematically and organizedly. I'm not an organized and systematic person, you know? And she was so lovely. I'm so glad we did do it. I apologize for the glitches in between. I think all the heaters in the house were on, so it must have just drained the solar or whatever it is. I apologize. Hopefully there'll be parts you can crop out and edit and make look beautiful and smooth. Thank you
This was
for making me.
this was awesome.
No,
This was
thank you for
awesome.
also making me look and think about travel differently. I'd never thought of it in some of the ways that you've asked me to think of it as. I hope it also encourages women to get out there, date internationally, travel,
Yeah.
go to random places, go solo. I've never done solo travel. I don't think I'm brave enough yet. But I mean, I love it when I go places and I see Zimbabwean girls or I see Zimbabwean girls post these trips and things like that. I feel like the world is big, sis, and you deserve to enjoy it. So if you can, do it.
That's awesome. Thank you so much, Sonja. And I want to encourage our audience. We have videos where we've taken trips for $375. That one saved our marriage. We have
Wow,
trips that we've done on a $150 budget. So travel doesn't have to be expensive, but travel is
definitely.
important. So thank you to our audience. Thank you, Sonja. I wish you well, love and light.
Love and life, honey. Thank you.
Take care. Bye, everybody.
Bye bye.